Hey, it's Suzanne Titkemeyer, formerly of Pathos, no longer quivering, for nearly 10 years now, just of myself. I have to make an apology this morning. Back, maybe a month ago, somebody sent me a link to a video by a blogger named Rachel, a video blogger, who had done a review of the Pearls books. And I just took a real quick look at the description and saw the words fiction and Debbie Pearl and pointed out to the channel owner that, hey, Mandy and Cheryl, I pointed out to the channel owner that to Created to Be a Helpmeet was not a fictional book, because I assumed from reading the description and especially looking at the beginning panel, that she was saying that Created to Be a Helpmeet was a fiction. I knew Debbie Pearl had written 2 different fictions under the Yell and Tell series. Good morning, Julianne, and bless Chris. But I had no idea that Debbie Pearl had actually written a fictional book all those years ago. All of the books that we used at our old church were To Train Up a Child, Created to Be a Helpmeet, all the various sundry ones that came out of that, Created to Need a Helpmeet, Preparing to Be a Helpmeet, all these different books. I had no idea that Debbie Pearl had written something called The Vision. And apparently that's what the video was about. I didn't watch the video because as soon as I saw, going bonkers. Yeah. As soon as I saw that this was about Debbie Pearl and Michael and To Train Up a Child and Created to Be a Helpmeet, I decided that that's what the video was about and that she was calling these books a fiction. That's why every time she kept coming at me at the comments after I pointed it out, it was just like, Created to Be a Helpmeet is not a fiction. So I just moved on from there after we had a very unhelpful back and forth about 10 times, I think it was. I think I would have learned by now that when you have a disagreement with another creator, that you double, triple check everything, particularly if it's something somebody else has said and pointed you to. I couldn't watch the video. I have a real hard time watching videos about Quiverful. And that particular book, Created to Be a Helpmeet, is one of the most toxic. It has chapters talking basically about Michael Pearl doing the R word to his wife repeatedly on their honeymoon, a big chapter about that. There's a chapter called Hillbilly Ugly that should give you an idea what the book was like. It's all about being as submissive as possible to your man. So I don't watch reviews of these things because it's just way too triggering after coming out of Quiverful. I have been out 15 years, about 15 years now, and it's still triggering to me. I just don't do those things. Even if someone sends me the link, I don't look at it. So I left it at that. And suddenly I had a swarm of Rachel supporters coming over here saying a laundry list of things. Some of them were respectful. Some of them took Stalker to new heights. And there were some that were somewhere in between. Somehow in the last month, the comments got turned off for my YouTube. Comments like, for me to see the comments. I had no idea. I just kept thinking, why am I not getting any comments? Is my reach that poor? So I didn't see any of them until this morning. This morning, I figured out I'd go in and read all the comments I had not been reading, and saw, like I said, everything from respectful to stalker talking about this very thing. But I learned something reading these comments. I learned that the video was about a Debbie Pearl book called The Vision. I have not read The Vision, and I had to do quite a bit of research to even figure out what this was, because I was completely unaware it even existed, this book, and that Debbie had tried her hand at fiction. I'm still stuck on Debbie Pearl's book about neuroplasticity, which was one of the most poorly written and researched things I've ever seen. So once I discovered that my mistake was believing what the little blurb said, and not picking up the fact that it wasn't about created to be a helpmeet, but it was about the vision. Dear Rachel, I am horribly sorry. They did come in droves. I am horribly sorry that I misunderstood this. My deepest sympathy, my deepest regrets here. I'm having trouble with oxygen today. My O2 stats are pretty low. But until I started looking at the comments that had been hidden all this time from me, I had no idea you weren't even talking about that book. I'm sorry. That was what I should have done. Was I should have approached you, Rachel, in a private manner. I should have PM'd you or sent you an email or something instead of what I did, which was irresponsible. I learned that pretty quickly when I was talking to you, that I should just drop this thing, and I should have. I owe you big apologies for this. I'm sorry I did this. I think from now on, when people send me links, if it's something I know I can't watch because I will be triggered, I just won't even mention the creator or how I think they're bad or wrong or whatever. YouTube is a really strange little world. I don't get everything right. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm fully human and I'm fully capable of making mistakes, big mistakes. I'm also capable of apologizing and saying, wow, I really dropped the ball on that one. Wow, I really dropped the ball on that one, most definitely. And the other thing I wanted to say about that is just YouTube is just weird. What do I mean by weird? Well, for some reason, my ability to see the comments got turned off. I did not touch that. Every time I go to make a video like this and I hit monetize, it turns it off. Not once, but like 3 or 4 times. So there's that I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with, you don't know. Thanks, Emily. A lot of times you don't know how a person's going to come off. Here's the thing, though. Comments. I try to run the comments here the same way I run the comments on NLQ. If you come in and you disagree, but you're respectful, you're welcome. But the minute you come in and start saying, oh, you killed the Kaiser, you're responsible for the death of the Kennedys, and you're the reason why milk spoils, then I just tend to do like I did on NLQ. At NLQ, I used to block the person, then to move their comment to Jerks for Jesus. Here, I tend just to, if it's a person who's throwing a lot of shade, and I mean repeated, I'll just block them. I try not to block anybody. I don't block as frequently as certain creators I could mention that I'm not going to. But if you're putting up a porn link or you're telling me I have the ugliest clothes in the world, you're going to get blocked. That's just the reality of it. I'm not interested in an echo chamber, but I am certainly not interested in personal insults, which is why I'm wearing my tackiest dress I own today. See, it's tie-dyed, it's green, it's sequined, it's got orange all over it. I'm deliberately tacky today for that person that kept saying I have ugly clothes. I do have ugly clothes. I live here in Costa Rica where I can't buy. I have to go buy what they have at the beach shops. That's about it. That's about our only options here. If you want to fly out to the States and go shopping, that's one thing. But again, I don't understand the need to be ugly in comments. I mean, even when I talk about without a box of Kleenex, I don't want anyone harassing her. I don't want anyone going from my channel to hers and giving her crap. I just don't. I think that's wrong. Thank you. Thank you, B. That's just wrong. We just don't do that. We're supposed to be grown-ups. So when I went there and made my comments, they were strictly to Rachel. They were not to any of her commenters. Her commenters came over here, and some of them were nice and some were not. I think there's something to be said about being not using filthy words, not calling people ugly, any of that. Don't ever, the minute you take an argument into personal space, you lose the argument. She who loses control loses. I'm a big believer of that. Uh, Cheryl, once I saw this morning that I had screwed up and was like, oh God, now I got to apologize. This all came about because I looked at the description and made, what the heck? Must be a bug, and made that decision to go ahead and do that. I shouldn't, like I said, I should have taken this in private. There are so many things that you don't hear about that people who are creators do. Like I had a pile of people that were copyright striking me for something that I had posted in the, what do you call that? Where you have the posts. It was a graphic I had made, and they were striking me saying that some other creator who was using it had made it. And I had to correct that and say, no, look at my watermark on here. This is mine. There was another time I had to strike a creator because she was using a watermark graphic from NLQ. Those things do happen. And I try not to do that. But that time I just popped off. It was wrong. I should have done it a completely different way. If I'd have talked to her, I would have seen right away that this was wrong, that I had formed a incorrect opinion. So there you go. And I get a lot of comments about Ren, Real Entertainment Network. I've told him before that I'm not wild about the way he's talked about women in the past. And I stand by that. But at the same time, if he's going to come here and be respectful, which I've never had him be disrespectful, I'm not going to boot him. What in the heck is going? Oh, you know what that is that we keep seeing? That is an ant carrying a big thing right over the camera. Hey, Scarlett. So there's that. And like I said, you're going to have problems with various creators, but it's better to have them away from the actual content. I've learned from this. It's a lesson that I've taken to heart. I mean, because they filled up my Gwen Shamblin posting with all kinds of stuff that had nothing to do with Gwen Shamblin. I do have to point out, though, Gwen Shamblin, Lara, we haven't heard one word about what's going on there. We have heard about the recording from the cockpit. We've heard various things in the news, but the family is being very secretive about the funeral arrangements and those things. And I don't blame them a bit. When you have an angry mob, and I've seen the angry mob, some of it, going after a dead person, you're going to have these things. I remember many years back when I was part of my Quiverful church, one of our members lost her son in Afghanistan. He was part of the armed forces. And Westboro Baptist said they were going to be there at the funeral. We had to carry out that kid's funeral at the most secretive, like Pentagon level secretness, and put people on the outside to block, just in case Westboro Baptist at the last second figured it out. I think, that the Lara family, Lara, however they're pronouncing it, I've heard it both ways. They are having to deal with the grief in their families right now. And having people throwing rocks at them right now is really counterproductive. Really counterproductive. And we just need to grant them some space. But I am going to say that I want you to notice that somebody that was reporting on them quite a bit in the first days from the time of the crash was announced until 3 or 4 days later, somebody was posting breathless update after update based upon info that we're getting from the British tabloids is completely silent now. BS, they are awful. You are right, they're awful, and they compound the grief of everyone. And that's why I'm thinking we've heard nothing about what the funeral arrangements, what the memorial will be. Nothing at all, because there's an angry mob. Sure, be upset with what happened to you because of following Gwen Shamblin, Lara. Be angry that they took from you at the church, if you remember. But I think it's kind of counterproductive to be calling up a lynch mob right now. It forces people underground when they have to bury their loved ones, and it makes it so much harder. We really don't want to be doing that. I know I don't want to have to be dealing with that. I am kind of laughing because she did miss some things in her reporting of it. She missed some things to do with Gwen Shamblin's son and some other things pretty significantly. My understanding is that her ex-husband is in charge of a lot of this. Hey, Atticus, I'm better, but not well, if that makes any sense at all. When the asthma attack is as severe as it was, not this Sunday, but the one before, it tends to spin into things like bronchitis. And that's what I'm dealing with now. I'm dealing with the fact that I have a lung infection. But I have something for that now. So hopefully that will go away. We were supposed to do a border run today. That went haywire. I had a hard time getting the kind of insurance I needed to be able to make the border run. They've changed it even since March when I flew. So we're doing it Friday because I have straightened it out now. I've got everything I need to have, and we're gonna go from there and see. It's one thing when you have the beer virus, I'm going to call it because of YouTube, it's really messed up a lot of things. They're not extending anybody's visas here. Our visas have been extended out almost indefinitely at this point since it first started. So we're going to go ahead and do that on Friday instead of today. I had to buy insurance from a company online to cover us being here, which is stupid because we have health insurance. It would have done the same thing, but they won't take the health insurance. So I'm stuck with that. And I called because I couldn't get it to download, and they informed me I had bought the wrong insurance anyway. So I had to cancel that and go and search for the right insurance. And who knows how that's going to play out. They change the rules every time you turn around. So there's that. That's Costa Rica, though. You can count on them changing the rules frequently. We still have a high number of beer virus cases here. Their attempts to get everybody to fly right and wear a mask and not go out and stuff, they aren't working. I think we're going to have to go into a more serious lockdown to end everything. I hope not, because I get cabin fever if I'm stuck in here too long. So I'm at the end. Again, I apologize to Rachel. I can't remember her last name is Oaks or Oates, which is why I've not mentioned her last name. I'm having a brain fart. Let me take a look so I can at least put a name with it, a last name. Rachel Oates. Dear Rachel Oates, I am sorry I said what I said. I did it out of sheer stupidity and not doing enough research, which is something that I accuse somebody else of doing on a regular basis. So unlike her, I'm willing to apologize and say, I'm very sorry I did that. Please forgive me. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go. I have reached the 18-minute mark, and with asthma, that's pretty miraculous. I'll talk to you later.